今年9月，加州通过了 SB 1161法案，明确禁止在加州公共运输系统内发生任何因种族引起的仇恨和骚扰行为。这项法案旨在保护乘客在搭乘公共交通系统时的安全，并将于2023年1月1号正式开始实行。
San Francisco and California, Chinese residents were only allowed to live in certain areas, not allowed to go to public school, not allowed to open small businesses. This is a part of our history, and so I think that the apology is very important, as well as taking action.
从1971年，美国最高法院颁布反种族隔离校车接送计划，到1980年，三藩市联合学区依然禁止亚裔学生与白人一起就读公立学校。在美国历史上，针对少数族裔的不平等政策影响着世世代代。那么如今，我们是否有新的政策可以帮助解决这个问题呢？大家好，欢迎收看《仇恨边缘》，我是主持人张歆艺。今天天下卫视请到加州众议员杨驰马一起来聊一聊立法界是否通过了哪些政策可以帮助解决反亚裔仇恨犯罪。Hi, Assemblymember Haney, how are you?
I'm great. It's good to be with you.
Thanks for coming to our show.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
So you've been living in San Francisco for 20 years?
Yeah, most of my adult life I've been here. My grandparents live in the inner Sunset. My family is all here, and I've been able to have most of my career here in San Francisco serving the people here.
Wow, and it's been 4 months since you joined Assembly.
Yes.
How has it been?
It's been good. Yeah, you know, we have a lot of challenges in San Francisco that I've been working on in my career, how to support our young people in public schools, addressing the cost of housing and homelessness. But many of these problems are statewide problems. They really require leadership across the state. One city can't solve these problems on its own. So it's been great to go to Sacramento to be able to immediately jump in and see some progress on addressing these issues. We have a very big state. It's the 5th biggest economy in the world. And we have a lot of big challenges that I'm grateful to be able to work on behalf of the people here to try to address.
So how have you seen the city changed over the several decades?
You know, San Francisco has changed a lot during my time here. We've seen a real growth of the technology sector here, which I think has led to a lot of growth of our city, especially downtown. So those are positive things. San Francisco is the hub of the technology sector, I think, in the world. At the same time, we've seen some other challenges, I think, increase in our city. The cost of housing, homelessness, dirty streets, challenges that are experienced in small businesses, people feeling less safe. So even as there's been some positive things around the growth of our city and technology and other things, we now have the Warriors here, things that are fun and exciting for our city. We have some big challenges that I think in some ways have gotten worse. And so we have to make sure that every resident feels safe, that they send their kids to great schools, that they feel good about the city and they're able to live here and thrive here and not worry about being priced out or otherwise fearful of their experience in the city.
So you in charge of District 17, which is including Tenderloin and Chinatown, right?
Yeah.
And what have you seen the hate crime targeting Asian community in the past 2 or 3 years?
I think this has gotten a lot worse in the last few years. I'd hear more and more from my Asian constituents that they were afraid to go outside, that they were constantly being harassed or even attacked because of who they are. And so this is something that requires our entire city and our entire state to respond to be absolutely clear in standing against violence, but also take action. And so during my time on the Board of Supervisors, I was involved with efforts to make sure that we increased the police presence, that we responded in areas where these attacks were happening, that we held people accountable, and that we also invested in prevention to confront the hate and the ignorance that was causing some of these incidents as well. So this is something that I've taken on with me to the state level. And in one of the first things that I did when I got to the state is to be a co-author of some of the bills that are working to prevent violence against Asian members of our community, and also standing up always with the Asian community, with the Chinese community against violence, against hate, because we have seen it get worse in San Francisco and around California.
Yes. And what can the Assembly do to address this issue?
I've been working with the Attorney General, who's issued a report this year that showed that in a single year, hate incidents against the Asian community increased nearly 200%. This is something that is unacceptable and we need to respond to. One thing is to make sure that the district attorneys, the law enforcement agencies, with the support of the Attorney General, have the resources that they need to respond and hold people who commit these acts of hate accountable. Created a hotline so that we can report these incidents. We're requiring now all of the local agencies to report and to keep track of these incidents as well, so we know where they're happening and know how to respond. We also have to provide more training, not only for law enforcement, but for others who may come across this hate. One of the things that we've seen is many people are experiencing this harassment or these hate incidents while they're on the bus, while they're on the train. So working with Assemblymember Phil Ting, I was proud to co-author a bill, as well as Senator Min. This bill will help to ensure that people who operate transit, bus drivers, station agents, are trained in how to respond to hate, how to report it, and that we have greater investment in public safety, which both includes law enforcement and community safety ambassadors on our trains and buses. No one should feel unsafe when they simply are taking the bus to go to the store or see their families. And so we have to think about all the places where this is happening and how to confront it where it is.
Yeah. And why do you think we are seeing anti-Asian hate crime right now?
Well, unfortunately, we saw at the national level a lot of rhetoric that was targeting Asian residents, blaming them for things, using them as a scapegoat for COVID-19, and that drummed up a lot of hate that unfortunately we know there has always been anti-Asian racism and discrimination. It's been an awful part of our history, but this particular moment really brought that out, and unfortunately there was a lot of rhetoric at the national level which was fueling that, and then that was leading people to do things. So we have to speak against this hate, we have to stand up to it, we have to confront ignorance, and also hold people accountable who are committing these acts of hate or hate crimes.
At one of the events, you said San Francisco needs to lead in confronting anti-Asian hate, and that starts by confronting our hateful past. So let's take a break, and after that, let's talk about why you say that.
Sure.
欢迎回到仇恨边缘，让我们继续和加州众议员杨驰马一起来聊一聊，针对亚裔仇恨，立法界都做出了哪些努力。Okay, Assemblymember Haney, last year you introduced a solution for San Francisco City to apologize Chinese community for the old racist policy. What make you want to do that?
For over 100 years in San Francisco, there has been state and city sanctioned discrimination against the Chinese community, excluding them from education, excluding them from job opportunities and business opportunities, from housing. And a lot of that discrimination still is with us today in terms of the experience that our Chinese residents have in our city. So the first step to being able to address that today is telling the truth and being honest about it and apologizing officially as a city. Our city had never apologized to the Chinese community for that history, and in order to not repeat the past, we have to be honest about it. And so that was important that we did that. We also have to make sure that we address the ongoing impacts of that discrimination. Even now, the Chinese community can face situations with regards to housing or access to small businesses that are discriminatory. We see in Chinatown multiple families living in small SROs, which is unacceptable living conditions for people. And a lot of that has its history in discrimination, where Chinese residents were not allowed to live in other parts of the city. And so these are things that we need to be honest about, and we need to also address in order to both stop the hateful incidents and make sure everyone in our city has equal opportunity and access to be safe, to go to great schools, to have housing, and to be able to operate and open a small business.
How did the city actually apologize, like by writing a letter or by making a public announcement? How did that happen?
We made a public announcement. We passed the resolution at the Board of Supervisors. We then had an event where we made this apology surrounded by community members and other elected officials, and we made a commitment to take action. Our city, we have a great city. It's a city that for as long as there has been a city, there have been Chinese and Chinese American residents, and they are such a critical, essential fabric of our city. At the same time, it's been a challenge again and again for them to be treated fairly. They've faced barriers and discrimination, and that is something that we're continuing to experience today. And so it was important to them as well. It's also important, this resolution, this apology came forward because 3 Chinese American students, Asian American students in our city did the research. They came forward to me and asked me to author this, to apologize officially. And so it was a partnership with the community and especially with our young people.
Wow, well put, well put. So you co-authored SB 1161, which is the Stop AAPI Hate Priority bill. Could you tell us about what this bill about?
Yes, so we want to make sure that when all of our residents go onto the train or go onto a bus that they feel safe. Public transit is one of those places where people should always feel safe, and it should be inclusive of everyone. Too often these hateful incidents are happening on the bus or train and nobody is responding. The bus driver doesn't know what to do, there's no police around, and so this bill is intended to make sure that everyone in our communities, including and especially our Asian seniors, are safe on public transit. And so what you're going to see as a result of this is additional safety interventions on buses and trains, more law enforcement, more community safe ambassadors to make sure there's a presence to keep people safe, but also that we're going to train all of our transit officials, our bus drivers, our station agents, how to confront hate and how to keep environments safe for all of the people who ride public transit. We want to make sure that nobody feels unsafe or nobody is attacked for who they are while on the bus or train.
So can I simply understand this bill requires the public transportation, the staff know how to recognize that's a hate crime.
Yeah.
And also if people got harassed in the public transportation, they have a channel to report the incident easily.
Yeah, because too often people are experiencing this harassment and they don't know who to talk to, and the people who work there even don't know how to help.
Mm-hmm. Any update on this bill?
Well, we passed it and it's on the governor's desk, and we hope that the governor takes action and signs the bill and provides the funding necessary to train the staff so that they can keep people safe.
So what else has California take action to try to alleviate this hate crime issue?
Well, we have a whole package of bills around Stop AAPI Hate. Another bill would provide training for people who work at retail stores, similar to the public transit. Some of these hate incidents are happening in grocery stores or they're happening in shopping malls, and we want to make sure that these stores can come forward, provide a certification and support so that they can keep safe environments for all of their customers and confront hate there. The governor signed a budget that included over $150 million last year as part of confronting hate crimes. This is going to support the Attorney General's office. It's going to support law enforcement, reporting, tracking, and as well as prevention and education. We want to hold people accountable who do bad things. That should always happen. But we also want to prevent it from happening to begin with. That means to ensure people know how to stop it when it's happening, and also that we are confronting the ignorance that often is the underlying root cause of these kind of behaviors.
Yes, talking about the roots of the problem.
Yeah.
Let's take a break, then we can focus on the brighter future.
Okay, good. Thank you.
欢迎回到仇恨边缘，让我们继续和加州众议员杨驰马一起来聊一聊关于立法界如何解决仇恨犯罪。So, Assemblymember Haney, what can we expect to see in the near future on AAPI hate?
Well, hopefully with all of the conversation that we're having about this and the recognition of how serious it is, that we see a change and that we see our communities be places where people are safe, where they can walk down the street and not have to worry about being attacked or harassed. And I think some of the things that we're doing is going to make a difference on that. We're making it very clear in taking a stand against hate. We're confronting the awful false rhetoric that's coming from the national level around scapegoating the Asian American community. We are investing more in law enforcement and in community safety. We have to make sure that they're available and there to protect and prevent crimes from happening. We're making sure that we're tracking all of these incidents so we know where they're happening, how to report them so that our agencies can respond effectively. We're including not only law enforcement but transit agencies and people who work in stores so that they know what to do. So the whole goal of all of this is to create a more supportive community where we look out for each other and where everybody feels safe. And I hope that we begin to see a change on that. Certainly I'm committed to doing everything I can to make sure that's the case. And at the same time, we have to confront our history and telling the story of how the roots of anti-Asian racism and discrimination are very, very deep in our history, and they have a lot of lingering effects. And so all of us have to understand that for a long time in San Francisco and California, Chinese residents were only allowed to live in certain areas, not allowed to go to public school, not allowed to open small businesses. This is a part of our history, and we need to understand it and confront the realities of it. And so I think that the apology is very important, as well as taking action.
Yeah.
So I hope to see a change. And we need to support each other, we need to support our seniors, and we need to make it very clear that hateful behavior, criminal behavior is never acceptable, and people will be held accountable when they do so.
Yeah. So right now we see the surge of this hate crime, then we are trying to do something about it. But let's talk about how can we prevent this hate crime from happening in the first place. I know you were a commissioner in the San Francisco School Board, right? Maybe you can start from school. We are seeking for the answer.
I think that young people they have to learn about history. They have to understand there is this history of discrimination, that they learn about other cultures. They learn about the incredible contributions of the Asian community to our state, everything that the Chinese community has done for San Francisco. The more you learn about people and another culture, the less likely you are to have hate towards them. And sometimes it happens where you have this ignorance that starts when people are young. Maybe it was passed on to them from their parents or grandparents. And so we have to make sure that we are addressing it with young people and bringing communities together so that we can get to know each other better, and so that people don't have hate as they get older. And so I'm supporting also a lot of the Chinese Historical Society, the Chinese arts organizations, making sure people are exposed to culturally to the very powerful contributions of the Asian community is also an important way to confront this hatred. We have to build bridges and make sure people are connected rather than divided.
Yeah, I hope to see the bright future.
So too.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Yeah.
好，今天的节目就告一段落。仇恨边缘是一档聚焦反亚裔仇恨犯罪的访谈节目。我们今后还会请到更多的立法界人士一起来探讨如何解决仇恨犯罪。我们也希望这个节目被更多需要了解和需要帮助的人看到。让我们一起共同努力，把周围变成一个充满爱而不是恨的地方。我是主持人张歆艺，我们下期节目见。正在收看节目的你，如果有任何问题想要问我们的来宾，欢迎在评论区留言，我们会仔细查看每一条评论，并联系该嘉宾帮忙解答。让我们共同努力，为停止仇恨犯罪贡献一份力量。